Tonight, we're not talking about monsters from movies. We're talking about real people, men who walked among us, blended into everyday life, and left behind unimaginable horror. These are the top 3 most terrifying serial killers in modern history.
In the 1970s, America was a place of contrasts. Disco lights, suburban optimism, and the belief that the American dream was alive for anyone willing to chase it. But lurking beneath that polished surface were shadows and monsters. And one of the most terrifying didn't hide in the woods or in the dark corners of abandoned buildings. He lived in the suburbs. He threw neighborhood parties, and he dressed as a clown for children's hospitals. This is the real story of John Wayne Gacy, one of the most infamous serial killers in American history. To the people of Norwood Park, Illinois, John Wayne Gacy seemed like the perfect neighbor, a successful contractor, a social man, even a volunteer. He entertained children as Pogo the Clown, bringing balloons, laughter, and painted smiles. But behind that painted smile was something darker than anyone could imagine. John Wayne Gacy was born on March 17, 1942 in Chicago. His childhood was defined by strict discipline and emotional abuse at the hands of his father. He was often called weak, belittled, and punished, even when he tried to please. As a teenager, Gacy battled health problems and felt like an outsider. He craved control and recognition. But like many future predators, he learned early how to charm and manipulate others. By the mid-1960s, Gacy appeared to have turned his life around. He married, had children, and became a manager of multiple KFC franchises in Iowa. But his public image masked sinister behavior. In 1968, he was convicted of sexually assaulting a teenage boy. Gacy's wife filed for divorce. He served only 18 months of a 10-year sentence before being paroled. When he left prison, he returned to Chicago, where his record was sealed. To his new community, he had no past. That mistake would cost lives. Back in Chicago, Gacy rebuilt his life again. He became a successful contractor, hiring young workers, many of them vulnerable or looking for guidance. And he invented his clown persona, performing as Pogo the Clown at hospitals and neighborhood functions. To outsiders, he was charming, energetic, ambitious. But at home, something horrifying was happening. Throughout the 1970s, young men and boys in the Chicago area disappeared, often last seen near bus stops, shops, or even at Gacy's own home. Many worked for him, trusting he would help them find work or teach them a trade. Most never returned. The disappearances were scattered, and the victims often belonged to groups society ignored: runaways, working youth, kids without powerful voices behind them. And Gacy knew it. Gacy's split-level home on West Somerdale Avenue looked ordinary: a manicured lawn, a driveway. But beneath the house, in a crawl space, Gacy hid the remains of many victims. Over time, he ran out of room, and some victims were discarded elsewhere. He lived 2 lives, laughing with neighbors by day, committing horrific crimes by night. The truth began to surface on December 11, 1978. 15-year-old Robert Peist went missing after telling his mother he was going to talk to a contractor about a job. That contractor was John Wayne Gacy. Peist never came home. His mother refused to stay silent. She insisted something was wrong, and unlike so many earlier cases, investigators listened. Detectives interviewed Gacy, who claimed he knew nothing. But something didn't add up. He seemed nervous, defensive, and when police learned about his past conviction, suddenly, he was no longer just a friendly local businessman. A search warrant was executed. Inside Gacy's house, officers found suspicious items, restraints, personal belongings that couldn't be explained, and a smell coming from the crawl space that Gacy tried to blame on plumbing issues. Police didn't have enough yet, but they were watching, and Gacy knew it. Over the next few days, Gacy's behavior spiraled. A second search warrant followed, and officers made a discovery that shocked the world. Beneath the house, Buried in layers, they found human remains, one after another. On December 21st, 1978, John Wayne Gacy was arrested. Soon after, he confessed, admitting to over 30 murders. Ultimately, at least 33 victims were identified. Many were teenagers. Some remain unidentified to this day. Most were found in the crawl space under his house, and some were found in nearby bodies of water. Gacy's house became a crime scene unlike any the nation had seen. Detectives and technicians worked for months to recover and identify victims. The scale was unimaginable, right beneath ordinary suburban life. On April 10, 1979, Gacy's house was demolished. A few days later, he was indicted for 33 murders. It was the largest number a person had been charged for in the U.S. at that time. In 1980, Gacy stood trial. His defense argued insanity, but prosecutors painted a picture of a calculated killer who led a double life with chilling precision. After a 5-week trial and only a few hours of deliberation, the jury found him guilty on all counts. He was sentenced to death. Gacy spent 14 years on death row. He gave interviews, painted clown pictures, and continued to insist he was innocent or misunderstood, shifting blame, rewriting stories, changing details. To the end, he showed little remorse. On May 10, 1994, John Wayne Gacy was executed by lethal injection. His final words were chillingly casual. "Kiss my," and then silence. The Gacy case changed how missing persons reports were handled and paved the way for better law enforcement cooperation when young people disappear. It also served as a grim reminder. Evil doesn't always look the part. Sometimes it smiles, shakes hands, volunteers, and blends in perfectly. And sometimes it wears a clown suit. Today, the name John Wayne Gacy stands as one of the darkest chapters in American history. But beyond the headlines, beyond the sensationalism, it's crucial to remember the real story. 33 lives stolen, families broken, futures erased. Their names matter more than his. May their memory remind us to stay vigilant, to speak up when something feels wrong, and to always protect those who cannot protect themselves. If you found this story informative, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Let us know which real-life case you want us to cover next. It was the late Victorian era. Whitechapel, in London's East End, was a district drowning under extreme poverty. Tens of thousands lived tightly packed into slums with lacking sanitation, rampant alcoholism, and a population struggling to survive from day to day. The streets were maze-like, crowded by lodging houses, markets, pubs, and alleys barely wide enough for 2 people to cross. Crime was common, violence familiar. Prostitution, legal at the time, was one of the few ways many women could earn money. And in 1888, several such women would meet the same horrific fate. Between August and November of that year, 5 murders occurred that were later collectively referred to as the Canonical Five. While the term itself came from decades of later analysis and not official police designation, the murders themselves were real and documented. These women were Mary Ann Nichols, Annie Chapman, Elizabeth Stride, Catherine Eddowes, and Mary Jane Kelly. Each lived in or near Whitechapel. Each was murdered in 1888. Each case remains unsolved. These 5 murders form the core of what historians and investigators acknowledge when speaking of Jack the Ripper. It was August 31st, 1888, when the body of Mary Ann Nichols was discovered in Bucks Row. Her throat had been cut, her abdomen mutilated. She was last seen alive less than an hour earlier. The police were alerted. The investigation began, but the clues were scarce. It was dark, the streets were mostly empty, and the killer, whoever he was, left no clear trace. The newspapers took interest. Violent crime made sensational headlines, and these murders were unlike anything seen before. On September 8th, another woman was found dead. Annie Chapman was discovered in the backyard of 29 Hanbury Street. Her throat was cut, her body mutilated in a manner more severe than the previous case. Police surgeons noted increasing violence, increasing precision, increasing boldness. A witness reported seeing Annie with a man shortly before dawn. The description, however, was vague. His identity could not be confirmed. Still, the East End trembled. The press fed the flames, covering the killings in detail. Crowds gathered at each discovery. Rumors multiplied, fear spread, and the killer continued to walk free. On September 30th, the killer struck again, twice. The first victim that night was Elizabeth Stride, discovered in Berner Street at approximately 1 a.m. She had been killed, but her body showed no mutilations like the previous cases. Because of this, some historians have questioned whether her death was committed by the same person. But what is known is this: her throat was cut. She died violently. Her killer escaped. Less than an hour later, another body was found. At 1:45 a.m. in Mitre Square, Catherine Eddowes was discovered. Her injuries were significantly more severe, showing the same pattern seen in earlier murders. Her face and body bore extensive mutilations. This confirmed that the killer was still active, still escalating, still hidden. 2 murders in one night. London panicked. Around this time, letters began arriving at newspapers and police headquarters. But here is the truth. None of the letters have ever been conclusively proven to be from the killer. The police considered most of them hoaxes. Some may have been written by journalists seeking sensational headlines. Some may have been created by pranksters. The now famous "Dear Boss" letter became iconic for giving the killer his infamous name by signing off Jack the Ripper, but the authenticity remains disputed. No handwriting evidence, no forensic confirmation, no proven authorship. And so, we do not know if the killer ever wrote a single letter, but the name remained. On November 9th, the body of Mary Jane Kelly was found in her rented room at Miller's Court. Unlike the other victims, she was killed indoors. Her injuries were the most extensive of all the cases, so severe that identification was initially difficult. Police examined the room carefully, but this was 1888. Forensic science was primitive. Fingerprinting had not yet become standard practice in Britain. DNA analysis was decades away. Though the crime scene was more enclosed than previous murders, the killer again remained unidentified. And with Mary Jane Kelly's death, the murders ceased. At least, no further crimes could be definitively linked to the same unknown hand. The East End changed during those months. Panic spread through markets and pubs. Many women stopped walking alone at night. Police increased patrols. Victorian London was gripped by fear, but also by fascination. Newspapers sold millions of copies, creating what some historians now call one of the first global media crime sensations. Journalists published sketches of suspects, descriptions of the murders, and bold headlines that screamed of brutality. The name Jack the Ripper became synonymous with terror. After the murder of Mary Jane Kelly, no further cases were conclusively connected to the same killer. The shadow faded back into the fog. What remains today are the facts and the mystery. 5 women whose lives ended violently in 1888. Their names are known, their histories recorded, their murders documented. But Jack the Ripper's story endures not because of what we know, but because of what we don't. We do not know the face behind the crimes. We do not know the motive. We do not know what became of the murderer. The case remains open-ended, a puzzle with missing pieces, a shadow walking through history. Today, the streets of Whitechapel are changed. Modern buildings stand where slums once stood. Traffic buzzes where horses once clattered. The gas lamps are gone. The fog has thinned. But the memory remains. Guided tours lead visitors through the same streets where the victims lived and died. Plaques and memorials honor the women whose stories were lost to fear. Historians and criminologists continue to study the case. And still, more than 130 years later, the world asks the same question. Who was Jack the Ripper? And perhaps that is why the story continues to haunt us. Because the killer was never caught. Because the facts end where the darkness begins. Because behind the evidence lies a void, one filled by imagination, speculation, and shadows. This is not a story of resolution. It is a story of loss, a story of fear, a story of a city caught in the hands of an unknown killer, a story with no ending. The truth about Jack the Ripper is not the identity of the murderer, but the enduring power of the unknown. For the streets of Whitechapel remember, not the man, but the mystery. In the city of Milwaukee, in a modest apartment building on North 25th Street, lived a man who blended effortlessly into ordinary life. He smiled politely to neighbors, clocked in at his factory job, and walked grocery bags up to his door like anyone else. But behind the door of apartment 213, the real Jeffrey Lionel Dahmer was hiding. A man whose crimes would become some of the most disturbing in history. Jeffrey Dahmer did not look like a monster. And that's what makes his story terrifying. Evil did not arrive with claws and glowing eyes. It came in the shape of a quiet young man with a soft voice and distant gaze. Jeffrey Dahmer was born on May 21, 1960, in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. From the outside, his childhood looked ordinary. But inside him, something unusual was forming. He struggled socially from an early age, withdrawn, lonely, uncomfortable in groups. Teachers described him as polite but disconnected, drifting through school with an absence behind his eyes. And then there were the bones. While other kids collected baseball cards or toy cars, Jeffrey collected the remains of dead animals he found along the roadside. He dissected them, studied them, kept their bones. The sound fascinated him. The feeling of control fascinated him. To a child, these hobbies seemed strange. To an adult looking back, they were ominous warnings. As he entered his teenage years, Dahmer's internal world grew darker. He drank heavily, not socially, but secretly, constantly. He showed up to school with liquor in a jacket, numbing himself early in life. While other teenagers explored romance and friendships, Dahmer sank further into isolation and fantasy. Fantasies of control, fantasies of possession, fantasies that would one day become reality. In June 1978, just after high school graduation, 18-year-old Dahmer crossed a line that can never be uncrossed. He picked up a hitchhiker, Stephen Hicks, a friendly young man simply headed to a concert. Dahmer invited him home for drinks. They talked, laughed, spent hours together. But when Hicks stood up to leave, panic exploded inside Dahmer. He could not stand the thought of being alone again. He grabbed a dumbbell and struck Hicks. Then he strangled him. Afterward came silence, and then came the realization. Not horror, not regret, but a twisted sense of power. He dismembered Hicks's body, disposing of the remains near the family home. That night awakened something in Jeffrey Dahmer, something that would wait, quietly and patiently, for nearly a decade. Dahmer spent years drifting after that first killing. Discharged from the army for alcoholism, failed attempts at college, trouble holding jobs. He tried to appear normal, but the fantasy of possession never left him. Loneliness followed him everywhere. His addiction grew. His urges returned, stronger than before. In 1981, he moved in with his grandmother, and in 1987, the killing began again. This time, the victim was Stephen Tuomi. Dahmer later claimed he woke up beside Tuomi's lifeless body, unsure how he killed him. Whether true or not, what came next was practiced. Methodical dismemberment, disposal, and a return to daily life as though nothing happened. Once the barrier broke again, there was no going back. Over the next 4 years, Dahmer targeted young men, many of them men of color. Many contacted near nightclubs or bus stops, many from marginalized communities. He offered money to take photographs or simply to spend time. His tone was soft, polite, almost shy. His victims entered willingly, unaware of the evil awaiting behind a cheap apartment door in Milwaukee. Inside his grandmother's house, Dahmer drugged them. He killed them, usually through strangulation, and his obsession deepened. He photographed bodies. He kept skulls. He preserved organs. His actions grew more disturbing, driven by a fear deeper than hatred, the terror of abandonment. He did not want people to leave. Dead, they could not. Neighbors complained about foul smells, strange noises, but Dahmer had answers ready. Spoiled meat, dead tropical fish, apologies delivered with soft politeness. And each time, concern faded. Evil stayed hidden. In May 1991, one young victim escaped Dahmer's apartment, drugged, injured, terrified, but alive. People on the street called police, desperate to help the boy. Yet when officers arrived, Dahmer calmly explained that it was simply a private situation between partners. The child, only 14, was handed back to him. Hours later, he was dead. It remains one of the most tragic failures in policing history, a moment where lives could have been saved, but weren't. And the killings continued. On July 22, 1991, Dahmer invited a man named Tracy Edwards to his home. Edwards sensed something was wrong, felt fear creeping up his spine. When Dahmer tried to handcuff him, Edwards fought back, stayed calm, talked, waited for a moment, and ran. He flagged down police and led them to apartment 213. What officers found inside was beyond anything they had imagined. Photographs of dismembered bodies, human heads in the kitchen, bones arranged like trophies, a refrigerator containing human hearts, torsos submerged in acid. This wasn't just a crime scene, it was a house of horrors. Dahmer appeared almost relieved as police uncovered his secrets. He confessed calmly, 17 murders between 1978 and 1991. No rage, no excuses, just chilling clarity, as though describing routine habits. In 1992, Dahmer was sentenced to multiple life terms. He did not deny what he had done. He acknowledged it fully. Courtrooms listened in shock as he explained his obsession with control, possession, and the idea that death could make someone stay with him forever. His crimes forced hard questions about policing, mental health, racism, homophobia, and society's blind spots. People wondered how a killer could hide in plain sight for so long, in a neighborhood filled with cries for help no one truly heard. In November 1994, in prison, Jeffrey Dahmer was killed by another inmate. The man who once controlled life and death met his own end violently, the same kind of brutality he inflicted upon others. He was 34 years old. The most terrifying part of Jeffrey Dahmer's story is not the gore, though his crimes were beyond horrific. What truly chills the soul is how ordinary he seemed. A soft voice, a shy smile, grocery bags in hand, a quiet neighbor in the hallway. Evil did not scream. It whispered. It blended in. It looked human. Dahmer's story is a reminder. Monsters don't always live in shadows. Sometimes they live next door, nodding politely as they pass, hiding nightmares behind locked doors and drawn blinds. This is not just the story of Jeffrey Dahmer. It is the story of the victims whose lives were stolen. Young men with futures, dreams, families, and voices silenced too soon. Their names, not his, are the ones we should remember. Because in the end, true horror is not the killer's face. It is the lives never lived, the voices never heard, and the trust that allowed a monster to walk unseen among us for far too long. If you found this video interesting, please like, share, and subscribe.